What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe when you come into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, I want to make some comments on the situation going on with Shedeur Sanders. As you know, the Cleveland Browns just recently traded their second string quarterback, Joe Flacco. I'm not sure where Joe Flacco went. I don't know. I know, but I forgot, right? I think he went to Cincinnati. But anyway, Joe Flacco is no longer with the Cleveland Browns. And so everybody thought that this was going to be good for Shedeur Sanders. But Stavansky, whatever his name is, he still has not moved Shedeur Sanders up to second string. How can you be a third string quarterback when you only have two, you know what I mean? Only two quarterbacks. He have the name. That's crazy. And I said that once they put in Dylan Gabriel, it, things wasn't going to change. I said this in previous videos that things were not going to change for Shedeur Sanders. And the reason why is because Shedeur Sanders has created a situation where is he publicly, and to me, he's done things to embarrass the team. Number one, when you say that, make statements like you know you can do better than the players that are out there, no matter what your intent, whether it's a harmless statement, you kind of make the coach and the coaching staff look like they don't know what they're doing. And then on top of that, so much attention comes with Shedeur Sanders. So it's, to me, it has turned into a pissing contest. And pride now is involved when it comes to the coaching staff, especially the head coach and Shedeur Sanders. If you put, he probably feel like if he put Shedeur Sanders in there and Shedeur has any type of success, then it's going to be, wow, what took you so long? I told you, you like, we know better than you. And so he may be he may not even want to give Shedeur Sanders a chance, which some people might say is fair. They might say it's unfair, but it don't matter. Like, if you Shedeur Sanders, I think the best thing he could have done from day one is just stay, try to fly under the radar as much as possible. One, you don't want to antagonize or challenge your coaches. You didn't want to do that. It didn't work in Shedeur's favor to do that, whether Shedeur was right or wrong, because it's not always about being right or wrong. It's about being able to get out there on the field so you could prove, that you belong out there. And when they trade, under any other circumstances, if you only had three quarterbacks on the team and one of them get traded, everybody, you know what I mean? That changes things for everybody, but not Shedeur. I think Stavansky is willing to almost tank this season and then try to get another quarterback. Try to get another quarterback in next year's draft. Even if the Cleveland Browns say we're going to get rid of Stavansky, once the season is over with, the damage is done. That's all those missed opportunities for Shedeur Sanders. So, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play the audio from Gilbert Arenas show, and I'm gonna comment on some things that Skip Bayless say about this situation with Shedeur and the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
What do you make of Stefanski and not naming him QB2?
I'm not objective about this, but this was hitting bottom yesterday. This is all-time shameful on the part of Kevin Stefanski. This was Kevin Stefanski pretty much declaring public war on Shedeur, at least Cold War on Shedeur, because he won't even speak Shedeur's name in these interview sessions. It's like Parcells when T.O. was there. He wouldn't even call his name. He just called him the player. Remember that? And this is degenerated into, every time he's asked about Shedeur, he just plays dodgeball and with a bunch of
And see, all right, so when you think about that, that's what I'm saying. I remember the situation with Terrell Owens and Bill Parcells. It becomes a power struggle. Bill Parcells was not going to allow Terrell Owens to distract his team. He was not going to allow Terrell Owens to to make it seem like he's making any type of decisions on the team. He wanted him to know that he ran the team, not. And it's the same thing with this guy. You don't want to get into, if you don't have any leverage, you don't want to get into a power struggle with one of these head coaches. These guys, they have egos and they have pride just like everybody else. So, now, and like I said, it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about getting on the field. Stefanski, a lot of people, Skip say that he's wrong, and a lot of people agree with Skip. But that's not the way, you should look at it. You should look at it as Shedeur Sanders flying under the radar and doing whatever he can to get out there on that field if he really had an opportunity to prove that he belonged out there.
And yesterday, he wouldn't even go so far as, and I understand your point about maybe it's not a great thing to be the number 2 on the depth chart. Okay, we'll get into that. I understand what you're talking about, but there's just a principle involved here where at least you acknowledge that by default, just by default, Flacco is now gone, Kenny Pickett's now gone. Just by default, Shedeur moved up a slot. Yeah, if you want to call him second, you could say that he's second on the depth chart. I guarantee you Bailey Zappi is now, and they're not putting it up on the website depth chart, but Bailey Zappi's second on the depth chart. I guarantee he'll dress at Pittsburgh and he will be second in command at that position. And this is Kevin Stefanski showing you once and for all, I didn't want to draft him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like his presence on social media. And above all, if you want to know the truth about Kevin Stefanski, he fears his father. He fears that Dion, if Shedeur ever gets a hold of the starting quarterback job in Cleveland, that before you know it, Dion will replace Kevin Stefanski.
Now, let me address that, right? I don't really think that Kevin Stefanski, I don't think he really fears Dion taking his job over, even though Dion may, like people within the organization may like Dion. If that was the case, if Dion had any type of leverage with that organization, Shedeur will already be in there. It wouldn't even be up to Kevin Stefanski, right? I think Shedeur will already be in there, number one. Number two, you have to take into account Dion is having so many right now, like issues in college. Then he's having health problems, with like blood clots and stuff like that. So if I'm Stefanski, I'm not even worried or concerned about Deion Sanders. Like I said, I just want to prove to Shedeur Sanders that this, I run this team. As long as if I go out, if I lose my job, I'm gonna lose it my way. I'm not going to allow somebody from college to dictate how I should run the team. Especially a guy that I didn't want on the team. I didn't choose. Stefanski really right now, his best hope, he's hoping that he get enough out of Dylan Gabriel, whereas though it don't put his job in jeopardy. He's hoping that Dylan Gabriel can help him to save his job. That's basically what he's doing. But he would rather risk his job with Dylan Gabriel than to risk it with Shedeur Sanders, because even if Shedeur has success, is going to be a lot of drama that comes with that.
As the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Because Jimmy Haslam loves Deion Sanders. And I love it that Haslam loves Deion. They did have a big dinner with Shedeur and Deion before the draft. And if Shedeur's ever going to get a shot here, it's only because Jimmy Haslam steps in and puts his foot down. And he's going to probably have to fire Stefanski, because Stefanski is now saying, over my dead body will Shedeur get a shot with this year's Cleveland Browns. That's what he's saying to you, because he's got no use for him or his father or the way he handles himself. And it just really makes me sick at my stomach. And when I read these quotes, just quickly from Stefanski yesterday, he got asked, well, what do you need to see from Shedeur? He said, I wouldn't say there's one thing you need to see. I have to do what's best for our players and our team. Any decision I make, I want to just make sure that I'm doing what's right for our players. Well, I don't know what that means because it probably doesn't mean anything. But the way I interpret it is he's saying, I've got to keep Shedeur out of the way because he can't play. That's what he's saying. I don't want to get him anywhere near a chance to be even the #2 quarterback because he.
All right. So if, like I said, if they knew, if Shedeur knows that this coach don't like him, the best thing to do, I mean, you can't go public, and you can't give them no type of ammunition. Shedeur Sanders, if he was lighting it up in practice, and he was, going out of his way to prove his loyalty to the team, like things like that would leak outside of the organization. That's how you put pressure. That's how you put pressure on the coaching staff, and because the players be like, man, Shedeur in here, he doing his thing, and especially when teams start losing, that's leverage. That could be used as leverage for Shedeur Sanders. That's leverage. If Shedeur look good in practice, and you losing, that's leverage. Then on top of that, the fan base, you don't. That's just like being the GOAT and promoting yourself as the GOAT. You don't do that. You let other people do that for you. And then when you get the opportunity to show people, then you prove it. You can't campaign for yourself when you're in that position. You got to allow other people to get out there and campaign for you. The fans want to see you. The players want to see you. But when you're making statements like that, you kind of lose. Not only do you lose some of your supporters, but you make other people more determined not to want to see you get in a position to succeed. And so that's where I think the issue comes in, is that like Shedeur Sanders is playing the situation. I don't think he's played this situation correctly. I think he should just kept his head down, work hard, and he knew. You could tell from even like when he first got to the league, wherever he went at, it was going to be clamor for him to start. And allow that to work on his behalf. So, and he didn't do it. I think he misplayed the situation. So that's where I feel about it. Hopefully he will get this opportunity to to play, but it may not be in Cleveland. Anytime there's only 2 quarterbacks on staff and they still got you listed as 3rd string, that's crazy. So that's my take on it. Y'all make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.